Hello, I'm Bradley Smith, and I'm going to be giving a presentation on live performances and open mic nights at the Freedom Café. So, what is my goal? I aim to explore the musical environment of local performances and small open mic settings. Why might some people prefer these settings over large concerts? And maybe some vice versa too. Most people will go to large concerts, and a lot of people don't even know about these smaller settings. Which brings me to a second point: how do people become involved in these activities and events? Where do you start out from? Where do you go to get into these more localized groups? And what keeps these groups going? What is, well, you know what live music is. It's live music. I've split it up into three categories. I've split it up into concerts, local performances, and just open mic. Very vague terms for all three, but I think it just makes sense for what I'm doing. I consider concerts to be, what you think of when you think of like large live music performance. You think of a big concert, huge event. The tickets are usually very expensive, making it kind of exclusive. Sometimes there's like an age restriction thing going on. But you get famous musicians, long duration. A lot of them are also recorded, so you can like rewatch concerts on like upload by the artist onto YouTube. They're very big, and it's what most people think of when they think of live music. For this presentation, I'm mainly going to be talking about local performances, smaller stuff. Still some pretty big events. The tickets are usually cheaper or free entirely. You get more local musicians, but still experienced, well enough to perform with a band or even solo sometimes. And they are still long duration, oftentimes starting sometime around like 7-ish and going until like midnight of performance. Like performances can be pretty long even if it's just local. And then I'm going to be talking about open mic settings, which are very small. Not very small, but smaller crowds than what you'd see at like an event. They are usually free to watch. Always free to watch. Most people wouldn't pay to see an open mic event because you don't know what you're getting. Which is my next point. You get amateur and experienced musicians because anyone can really sign up to join. It's an open mic, so there's that freedom, and you can just kind of walk in and sign up, even if you aren't that great at whatever you do, or don't think you're that great. If you're just trying to find a starting point, and the duration is much shorter, usually about 5 to 10 minutes given per person that's performing. And this project is going to be talking about specifically these last two. So researching local and open mic music. For this project, I've been doing a lot of research on local and open mic music, like throughout. Mostly focused on like in America, because a lot of people that are writing are talking about music especially like around New England or just like cities across America, both rural and urban. And in my research, I found that open mic events, live music, all of that is actually a very growingly popular form of entertainment. It's always been around. It's been around since, I think, well before the 1920s, where it was super popular. Though 1920s, you saw a lot more of the big band performance, which wasn't open mic. And this might also be either contributing to or being contributed to by the ability to listen to, learn, and play music now being very easy to obtain. Like all of this is widely available, especially with the internet and so many people that can just like teach you music. Everything is like clicks of buttons away, phone calls away. You probably know somebody who either is a musician or knows a musician. Music is just kind of everywhere. And it is a very saturated medium, but open mic events allow for new musicians to just kind of find their footing in that medium, find what they're good at, what they're comfortable doing, what they enjoy doing in the whole just musical performance. People can try different things. I've seen a lot of people where they start out performing one way and then they slowly shift into a different kind of genre or a different kind of performance style. And open mic events allow for people to experiment like that. Smaller casual events also just allow for these same musicians to meet one another, because if you're going to an open mic, you're probably going to meet other people who want to go up and perform. You can share ideas and stuff. I know there's somebody that wrote her own piece. It really inspired me to like think differently about how music on the piano can be composed, because she used very intricate styles. And so yeah, again, this is just my own perspective, but it was very inspiring, and that sort of stuff can happen between all sorts of artists. And I also want to talk about, so for my research, but also not for my research, because I didn't just join them for the research. I promise I'm not that terrible of a person. But I did gain a very big emic perspective by joining a band with a lot of my friends, whom I met at open mic. I would go to, and I still go to, open mic Freedom Café every Wednesday. And they eventually got me to join their band. They said, "Hey, we need a drummer." And I said, "Hey, I think I'm not a drummer. I don't know how to drum, but I can learn for you guys." And then that's me. I'm the drummer there. I involved myself with their songwriting. Like once I got myself into the band, I started like working with them. And being in a band, you also get to see other bands perform. We opened for a lot of bands, and we also went to the Battle of the Bands at UNH. So you got to see a lot of other musicians, other bands that had their own unique styles, skill level. Most drummers I saw were better than me, but I think that was okay, because again, I've only started like a few months ago. I also want to start with the Freedom Cafe, which was a huge starting point for this field study. And I went to the Perform for Freedom open mic nights, which happen every Wednesday from 7 to 10. It's usually a very small crowd. There's no more than 30 people. Most nights it's around like 20, 25. 30 I feel like is a good number. Every night starts with a local experienced band that usually like reserved the first 45 minutes for themselves. And they'll just play usually their set list of either covers or originals just before the open mic starts. People during this time can start signing up in the open mic sheet. And then whenever that band's done, they might take 30 minutes, they might take the full 45. But whenever that band's done, they will allow just a bunch of people to start going up for the open mic. The whole event is also volunteer run. And you might be wondering why it's called the Freedom Cafe, or, the Perform for Freedom. Freedom is like a big motif here. It's because the profits of the cafe are used to help spread awareness and help end human trafficking, which is, I think, a very important, and they're very dedicated to the cause. And I've also put the link to their website if you want to learn more about it. Or just show up on Wednesday, 7 to 10. It'll happen this week. It'll happen next week. I don't think it'll happen over the summer. You'll see some people, you'll see a lot of repeats, people getting better, people who are very experienced, who will just come up and play something for us. It's a very small, everyone's just happy to be there sort of experience. And that kind of brings me to one of my friends whom I've interviewed for this, and fellow band member Gavin. He's the lead electric guitarist for the band that I'm in, which is Thank You Everything. Their name was on a previous slide. I just forgot to say their name. He said, when asked about performing music in live settings, he said, "I like performing live because it gives me a reason to play music for others, hopefully providing them with a fun experience. I like being the center of attention. It makes me feel cool. I enjoy knowing that I can screw up at Freedom and nobody's going to yell at me." He used a different word there, but I felt that wasn't very good to put in a presentation. And so that kind of leads me to the various textures of music that I also discovered when going to all these events. Most commonly, you will see guitars. Guitars is a very common instrument, guitar, bass guitar. And you'll also see keys and drums. I think guitar is very popular because a lot of people, that's the first instrument they'll learn. It's fairly easy to play it while also singing along, because you only have to, like, your hands are doing all the work, so your mouth is completely free to just, sing along to what you're playing. And despite having, similar instruments across a lot of bands, the guitar, keys, and drums, there's still a huge variety of sound that can come from that emerges from the different combinations. People use pedal boards, synths, all sorts of technologies to just change the sound ever so slightly and add it onto their unique playing style. you just have this indefinite amount of sound that can just layer in so many different ways. You hear so many different genres. You have some people that lean into the rockiness of having guitars and drums, and then you have some people that lean into the acoustic with more focus on the piano and the light strumming. And at open mic events, not as much in local music, there's still some variation in local music. Local bands tend to be a set like amount of instruments: guitar, keys, drums, lead singer. That's usually what you see in a band. But at open mic, I've noticed that there is more uncommon instruments that come up. People will come in there playing flutes. I know a few people have come in playing the accordion, myself included, though I didn't actually play it. I've seen mandolins and other unique stringed instruments coming through, and one time I remember someone even brought in a theremin, which was a very unique instrument to hear, but everyone there enjoyed it because it was new, which is another thing about it, is that there's just new people all the time. It's a new experience, leading into my next slide, which is my experience and my takeaways. The whole thing that I found from this is that it's fun, it's fueled by fun, and it's fun for both the audience and the performer. The goal is just to have fun in some way, which I think is true for large concert music too, to some extent, but there's also large concert music is tied with like there is still a monetary incentive too, where people are like actually paying to show up and paying for the fun. But here it's more the fun is for free, or cheap. Like it's cheaper fun. It's fun. You just kind of show up, have fun. Both people, just the performer and the audience, are only there to just have fun. And it's always fresh, especially at open mic, seeing new people come up and perform. You get to see a lot of different bands, different styles. And there isn't so much pressure to perform perfectly as there would be in the concert. If a musician messes up in a concert, that makes the news. That makes the people that went there and paid for their concert. It's like, oh my gosh, how dare they mess up when I paid so much for this? But then you have a local band that is playing for you for free at a bar or a pub or some sort of smaller area. You will have like, if you hear a mess up, it's like, oh, they're just playing. And usually, as long as you like get right back on track, everyone forgets it within the minute. And so there's not a lot of pressure to perform like perfectly. You still want to do great. Everyone does great too. One thing I've noticed is that like even the amateur musicians that show up, we all make mistakes, and a lot of people make mistakes, but it's very satisfying to watch somebody start off with maybe a mistake or two, and then they get it sorted, and then you hear them play, and you just start to see more glimpses into their full potential of like what they can really perform. And these events, my biggest takeaway that I've found is that these events couldn't exist without the people who volunteer and the locations who host. The volunteer work that is like holding up all of these pillars of performance and the locations who allow these performances to happen within them are really what is like helping this whole all of these sorts of events to just keep going. This sort of period in history is very aided by these local places that will just say, hey, yeah, we'd like a band to come in, play for us, and they aren't super like strict, or like some places will like try and like strike certain deals with you, but a lot of times it'll just be, okay, you come here, you play from here to here, have fun. And that sort of freedom, I guess, for lack of a better word, that freedom allows for more involvement in the music for both the audience and the performer. Here is a list of all of my references, the different things I read for my research beforehand. I read through a lot of articles, a lot of really good books here. Some of them I would say to check out yourselves. Some of these are very short reads, like a lot of the articles. Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to say. And thanks for watching. This has been very fun. The whole semester has been so fun to just involve myself so deeply into this whole form of musicking, and it's been very fun. Thank you for watching.